So yesterday was a rough day coming into the airport. So we got up about 1 o'clock a.m. to take an Uber over to the Tucson airport. And our flight left out at about, I want to say it was around 5, somewhere in that time frame. And that's not the part that was bad. So our flight was on time supposed to go to Phoenix, and then from Phoenix it was going to go to um, Baltimore, here in Baltimore. And so that flight was on time. We did okay with that. And then we get to Phoenix, and they tell us our flight was canceled. So they tell us after we get into the airport. And the only reason I knew about it was because I checked the board when we got off, and it said canceled. No one else seemed to know that our flight was canceled. So I go up to the desk and I said, hey, what's going on? It seems like our flight was canceled. And she's like, oh, yeah, it's weather delay. Okay, so it was raining pretty hard here in Baltimore. We checked the weather, and it was raining really hard, and storms and that. But I don't feel like it was because of the storm all of these delays happened. I kind of feel like this was a situation where they decided to cancel the flights because they didn't have pilots. This is my opinion. I can't say for certain that this happened, but I did overhear a couple of conversations where they were talking about they don't have pilots. So we in Phoenix, I go up and I talk to the lady, and she tells me that she needs to get us booked on a new flight because our flight, it had been canceled. So now we scrambling to take whatever flight we can get. And the flight that we get on is going from Phoenix over to San Antonio, stay on the plane, and then go from San Antonio over to St. Louis. And then from St. Louis, we end up going to Baltimore. Okay. So we get into San Antonio. Now, mind you, we're not getting off the plane. We're just staying on our plane. And then we find out that the flight has been delayed again. So we go on to St. Louis because at this point, we're not even sure what to do. So we're in St. Louis, and our flight, they get ready to board us, y'all. I'm telling you, the whole day. Now, keep in mind that we've spent hours sitting and waiting because that flight from Arizona to Texas, that flight was about 3 or 4 hours before it pulled off. So keep in mind that we, at that point, are just like, get us on a plane. As you can see, who is that that's flying? So hours sitting in an airport with my mom who has Alzheimer's and can at any moment freak out on us. And we're just trying to keep her calm. Okay, so we get to St. Louis. We then sat around in St. Louis maybe an hour, and we think, okay, it's time to board because we were ready to board the plane. They start calling us to line up to board. Now, my mom and sister, they go on first because she's in a wheelchair. And then the guy that's ready to board us says, oh, shit. That's exactly what he said. Oh, no, he said, oh something. It might have not been oh, shit. It might have been oh, boy. It should have been oh, shit. And then he says, our flight has been delayed again. Now, mind you, at this point, it's 7 p.m. We have been traveling all day long. And we're sitting there thinking, okay, now what do we do? Now, I've looked at the flights for the next day. The next day, the flights are not leaving until 6 p.m. All the morning flights, we're 2 hours. St. Louis to here is only 2 hours, hour and a half. And I've already checked the flights to see if we could just get on a flight the next morning. Maybe we'll just go to a hotel. We can't even do that. Okay, I'm distracted. I got to show y'all this. Look at the little bunny. Anyways, let me continue. So, at this point, I'm trying to figure out what are our options. And this is why I like to drive to where I'm going. But I'm coming from Tucson trying to get to Baltimore, Maryland, from one side of the United States to the other. And I don't want to do a road trip. This is why we started cruising, because I decided I didn't want to do a road trip anymore because my mom just can't really handle the long days that we used to do. So, anyways, I decided, all right, let me see what options we had. The flight the next day would have been at 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. All the morning flights that they had were taken, obviously, because people who they canceled on took those earlier flights and decided to heck with it, which is probably what we should have done when we were in Phoenix. But I wasn't thinking. I'm just like, okay, they telling us we can still get to Baltimore, so let's just do it, because we are 2 days before a cruise. And this is why I always recommend getting in before your cruise, because of these flight delays. Now, we get into St. Louis, and now I'm trying to figure out, do I just stay in St. Louis overnight and then the next day take a flight out, which would have been 6 p.m., like I said, before we would have been able to leave St. Louis. So I make the decision, let's just go with it. I actually went up and talked to the lady to say, okay, look, I need to make a decision. Help me make a decision here. What do you think I should do? How does this work? The customer service lady was so nice. And she basically said, just hold out. If you can just hold out a little bit longer. She thinks that the flight might leave, but just hold out a little bit longer. Now, keep in mind that they telling us it's weather related. It wasn't weather related, y'all, because if it was weather related, why are we waiting on a pilot? Where the pilot at? The pilot wasn't there yet. Our luggage wasn't even on the plane. So they was waiting on a pilot. I'm telling you, that's what was happening. But I can't prove that. So anyways, we decide we're gonna wait it out. We wait it out, and I'm at the point where I finally decide I'm gonna go get something, and my sister sends me a message and says, now I think they said we were gonna leave at 9 p.m. St. Louis time. And I decide, all right, let's just do that. We'll just wait it out. We'll see what happens. Another couple that was sitting next to us that was so nice, they were talking us through it. Well, we could just rent a car, and we're going to get you guys on that cruise, and we'll rent a car and we'll drive. They were so nice. And I decided, no, we're just going to wait it out. Let's just wait and see, because there's no way my mom can do a 13-hour drive, 13-hour ride all the way to St. Louis. Now, can I drive it? Absolutely. I do it all the time. So anyways, we decide we're going to wait it out. I'm going to look for food at this point, because I'm like, okay, we've been flying all day. We're barely eating. We're eating a little bit here and a little bit there, but not really eating a whole lot, because we're almost afraid to leave the terminal, the area that we're in, because we don't want to miss the flight, and we're not sure what's really going on. So then they changed the time again, and now they moved the time from like 9 something to 8 something. Now I'm out looking for food, and my sister texts me and says they're boarding now. So I'm running back without food, running back because I'm not trying to miss that flight. And my sister is telling me, texting me frantically, that they on the plane. So this is why I feel like it wasn't about the weather. They didn't have a pilot. Because if it was about the weather, how all of a sudden you find a pilot and now y'all ready to roll out? Okay, my Ebonics is coming out. I'm sorry, y'all. But okay. Anyways, we get on the flight and it was bumpy. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was a bumpy flight. But we get there and they apologize for all the delays. People were coming from all across the country. Flights were delayed. And maybe it was a situation where they didn't have a pilot because of all the delays and they trying to get people from point A to point B, and the logistics of all that, I'm sure, is a nightmare. But in my opinion, it just would have been better to say, look, the weather is bad. We just gonna cancel this flight outright, and y'all need to get a hotel. And we'll see you when we see you. Let's try it again tomorrow. Now, granted, we did make it late last night. I want to say we got in about 12, 12:30. No, it might have been 11, 11:30, somewhere in there. We got in late last night. And I am here and I'm blessed. I am grateful to be here this morning to get up and be able to walk around and talk about this situation. But just from the standpoint of constant delays, the cancellations, it's it's a horrible feeling to be in. And so you've got to schedule these cruises, the hotel rooms, the flights. You just have to do it, because if you don't, you're just going to miss the cruise ship. And again, the money that we spend on these cruises, you don't want to do that and risk not being able to get on your cruise because you can't get there. The flight delays that we're having now, and again, they're calling it because of the weather, but we've heard reports about flight delays because of not having gas. There's way more going on, and they're not telling us what's really happening. This is just, again, my belief. They're not telling us what's really happening. And so we've got to make sure that if we're going to take a cruise, that we are actually getting there even a couple of days before, a day before. I mean, we would have been fine to get up this morning and get on the cruise ship, which is what I really wish would have happened. But I know with dealing with my mom and all of that, and coming across the country, 2 days for me was playing it safe, because we might have had to get on the flight late at 6 p.m. today, and we would have been in trouble. We would have missed our cruise, because that 6 p.m. flight would have had us coming in when the cruise ship is already gone. So I would have had to rent a vehicle and drive us 13 hours to get us here in time, because there were no other flights on Southwest for this morning. So all that to say, we are currently at this Country Inn and Suites that I can't even recommend this hotel. Do I want to go there right now about this hotel? Y'all, there's three of us in the room. We got a suite, what they call a suite. They need to quit with that. They left us 2 sets of towels. It's a suite, y'all. What we gonna do with 2 sets of towels? And then I took a shower this morning and the water still in the bottom of the tub. So nothing grosses me out than to have dirty towels and stand in water when I'm trying to take a shower. I don't ask for much, but come on now. And we didn't have time to wipe things down because we were so tired yesterday. So I got up this morning and wiped everything down, because we are here until tomorrow morning. And yeah, we didn't pay for 2 rooms, even though we came in at 12 o'clock last night. Still had to pay full price, of course, for that room. But that's neither here nor there. I see the planes still coming in. We're right by the airport too. So the spot, as far as the location, is a really great location. There's other hotels. There's a Holiday Inn. Let me turn this way so y'all can see the Holiday Inn back there. I think I saw La Quinta when I came in. There's other hotels, guys. Go with the other hotels. Don't do this one. It's not worth it. The old breakfast. Let me tell you what happened with breakfast this morning. They cut up hot dogs. You know them cheap 99-cent hot dogs? They're probably not 99 cents anymore because the price is so high of things. They cut up the hot dogs and put the hot dogs. That's what we got for breakfast, y'all. Where it's supposed to be sausage. I guess maybe they thought we wouldn't recognize it. We wouldn't realize it. But they gave us hot dogs for breakfast. I don't know. Back in the day, that's what we used to eat for breakfast. I grew up poor, so I know what it's like. But damn, I'm paying for a hotel and I'm paying full price to have hot dogs for breakfast. Really? Things have got to change with this travel. It's just got to change. Choice, you've got to do better. I hope you're listening because I'm ready to jump ship to some other organization. I don't know, maybe I'll end up doing Hilton or somebody else because Choice ain't working anymore. These hotels, we check the reviews. Always check the reviews before I make a reservation. And it's still hit or miss on what you're going to get. And again, I'm not asking for much. Clean towels, enough towels. You know it's 3 people in a room. What we gonna do with 2 sets of towels? We supposed to share? I don't know, guys. And then, of course, when I wiped everything down, it was gross. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll continue to try to provide you with more information, tips on travel, do everything I can to help make your travel vacation better than mine. We'll find out tomorrow what the ship is like. Thank you guys for watching. Nomadic Black Rose. Have a wonderful day.